Alright folks, welcome to another beer review, and it's a revisit of a beer that I reviewed 7 years ago, and an absolute classic that I really enjoyed the first time round. The whole sort of like, especially IPA landscape has come a long way since then, and yeah, and when I saw this was available, good friend Mersey Beers was doing a bit of an order because a few American beers had come over, and this was available, so gave him money and asked him to pick a can of this up. Wasn't cheap, mind you, but do you know what? Every now and then, especially something like this within the beer community, you've just got to. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I throw this amount of much. I'm not going to say how much I paid for it, but it's very rare that I will spend a lot of money on a single beer. But yeah, I thought I really want to try this again. And you can see by the title and the thumbnail, we're going back over to the Alchemist, and this is a can of the classic Heady Topper. Awesome, iconic artwork. 8% double IPA. Obviously, Alchemist based in Vermont. The first and last time I had this 7 years ago was when I was part of the Mikkeller Beer Club subscription box, which has probably been the best subscription box that I've been part of, even though I've only ever done 2 or 3. But yeah, just amazing beers that I got to experience, not just from Mikkeller, but from breweries like this. And yeah, obviously known and recommended that you drink it straight from the can, which is what we're going to do. But for presentation purposes, I've not dug out this glass for a little while. A little sort of like tester cloud water glass. Probably should have rinsed it because there's probably going to be a fuck ton of dust in there. But it is what it is. And before I get into this, I'm just going to read a little excerpt from Mark Dredge's book, The New Craft Beer World. Random Christmas present that I got. I don't really tend to read much about beer, in all honesty. I do find that a lot of beer writing is... it's just a bit boring and basic. Unless someone can recommend a beer author who has that same sort of, as, let's say, Anthony Bourdain, where there's a bit more personality. I like that idea of someone writing about something, but what they're writing about is only a small part of what the actual body of text is. I did toy with writing a beer sort of like related book, logging places that I'd been to and then talking about what I experienced. Maybe an interesting group of people came in, I don't know, but I was writing. I look like a pretentious twat, which I do most of the time anyway, and yeah, that sort of abandoned, but I still have the notes from that. Weird. I do need to get back into being a bit more creative, but it is what it is. So there's a little section talking about the hazy double IPA, and one of the beers that has been sort of like highlighted is the Alchemist Heady Topper out of Stowe in Vermont. So I'll quickly read you this, and then I'm sure you're foaming, chomping at the bit. So Heady Topper is often cited as the archetypal hazy New England style double IPA, but I don't believe that. Sure, Heady is a hazy double IPA and it comes from New England, but have you drunk Heady and compared it to, say, a Treehouse double IPA? Heady Topper, in which the name sort of alludes, was inspired by weed, wafts of heady, green, dank, pungent hops, a hazy appearance, a resinous, bitter finish, plus it has lots of stone fruit around it. Some of the hops and some from the yeast. Most of the newer double IPAs are thick and abundantly tropical, morphed from heady, which likely provided some inspiration in the first place, into something way gaudier and attention-grabbing, and pushed to the limits of how much hop can be pulped into your pint glass. I think The Alchemist makes some of the best double IPAs in the region, and I like them for being refined and restrained. So, yeah, we've talked about it a lot, where nowadays the UK breweries are brewing beers of this style, comparable, if not better, than some of the most well-established and well-regarded American breweries. But that's the beauty of sort of this industry, isn't it, really? You just take inspiration from people who do it well, and then you go back and you brew it just as well, if not better, sometimes not as well. But it's constantly sort of evolving, isn't it? Although some may say that this style, especially the hazy side, is pretty stagnant. I think there's a lot to that. I'm probably more sort of not disappointed, but not exactly blown away, than I am blown away by a hazy IPA nowadays. And it is probably, aside from a good lager, my go-to beer style to buy. But I don't really believe, unless the brewery specialises in these beers, you should really sort of base a brewery. Do you know, I don't know. I'll probably change my opinion on the next IPA review if this subject comes up. But I thought that was a nice little write-up. And yeah, I mean, they've even got Putty there, as well as Treehouse Haze, which I think I might have had in a bottle share before. But I've had a few Treehouse beers, I've had a few Trilliums, Vitamin C, Grim. There's other half. There's American breweries where you see their beers when you're making your beer order and you think, do you know what? Let's throw in a can of that. And a lot of the time, I do get really blown away. So I haven't looked at the previous review, so I didn't want to sort of do this. Well, compared to last time I had this, I got this, but now I'm getting this. And I don't necessarily think that this is going to be, well, are they ever good reviews? Let's be honest. But I will link my first review of this. And it'd be interesting to see what you guys think comparing the two videos, if you want to waste your precious time doing that. Because like I said at the start of the video, completely different landscape to now than it was back then. And 7 years ago, that's fucking insane to me. So, make sure, is there any dust in there? Can't see it. Now I've just put my fingerprints in there. So I will review this by pouring it into the glass, but I will primarily be drinking it straight from the can, as advised by the brewers. Now, is that more of a gimmick, or is there something to it? So I just have to be very careful pouring this. But massive thank you to my good friend Maisie Beers, who facilitated this for me, even though unfortunately I was out walking Betty to receive it. And I don't like doing that, because I like having a chat with him. And there was a beer that I wanted to give him, but we're going to save that for a meetup. So beer in the glass then. And yeah, obviously it's going to look a little bit different in a smaller glass like this than it is in, let's get a dirty glass off the windowsill, than something like that. I'm a scruff. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, a little bit of glare from the window. And obviously a little bit sort of like a darker yellowy colour. It looks a bit more orange on camera, but for me it's almost like cloudy, lemony looking beer. One thing is worth of a white foamy head. Nice and pretty in this tiny glass. It's a Cloudwater glass that I've not smashed yet, so that's progress. mainly because it's been stuck in that cabinet there for a while. And I really can't be bothered cleaning all my glasses out and then putting them back in. Although I should have rinsed it. But it is what it is. You don't care. I don't care. The world doesn't care. So it looks very good. Let's see what we get on the nose. It's definitely got that pungy, tangy sort of character. Now, I'm no expert on my strains of cannabis, but it does have a fruity, dank, weedy sort of aroma. It smells like Pineapple Express. Yeah, a little bit more lemon coming through. Always reminds me of like freshly squeezed lemon on a recently fried bit of fish without the fishiness. But yeah, a little bit lemony, like I said. It smells really, really nice. Let's see what we get on the nose from the rim. I'm sure we've all had our nose near a rim at one point in our life. It's actually a little bit more vibrant and pungent, smelling it straight out the can. But then again, there's a lot more liquid in this. It smells good though. It smells very, very good. It's got that weird thing where it's an IPA. You know what an IPA smells like. Very familiar. You're probably thinking of 20 of the recent IPAs that you've had that have a similar smell. But tell me what this is. Is it just in my mind? But there's something like genuinely American craft brewery about the aroma for me. He's talking out of his arse when he says shit like that. It's so fucking ridiculous. Call me out on it. Call me out on it. Call me a cunt. I don't care. My comments are, it's a free-for-all. There's no moderation. There's no filters. You just say what you need to say. Insult me. It entertains me. And then I cry wank myself to sleep afterwards. Anyway, shut up, give it a taste. Cheers, everyone. God, it's very pungent. You definitely know it's an 8% IPA. There's no hiding. There's no overly fruity, sweet flavours to mask that ABV, which I like. Yeah, it's definitely got that dank, pungent feel to it. But then offset again by a very lemony, acidic citrus character. And what I like about it is you're still getting the maltiness. There's a little bit of a bready, crispy, savoury malt character there. And it still has that flavour of not being completely on this side of the spectrum when it comes to hazy, fruity IPAs. It's still got an almost like West Coastian, like bitter, dank character without it tasting like a West Coast IPA, or one of those weird abridged styles like the Mountain IPA. I said that with such conviction then. But if you know me personally, I know absolutely fuck all about beer. I just like to consume it and I like to be involved in the culture. But, excuse me. Lovely stuff. So let's drink it as the brewer's intended and have a sip from the can. See if we get any different flavours. See, I don't know if I buy into it or if I'm just trying to not buy into it but it tastes different out the can. It's maybe a little bit more gentler, although drinking out of the glass, it wasn't abrasive by any stretch, don't get me wrong. But a little bit more mellower, yet flavours coming out a little bit more. Like fundamentally, he's used that word again, big lemony zing throughout. Nice bitterness right in the back end. Finishing almost maybe a little bit dry, which in my mind just makes me want to go in for another sip, which is what I'll do. There's like maybe a little bit of a passion fruit-esque, like not sourness but tanginess in there. Again, really nice crisp bready malt flavours coming through. You're feeling it as you're drinking it down. Like I said, you're tasting the ABV a lot more than a lot of beers like this at 8% ABV. It's still, I don't know, it still feels like an old school in this, compared to this era, old school hazy double IPA. Like, don't get me wrong, I like where we are with this style, but every now and then going back to breweries like this and drinking some of the classic stone beers that are still being brewed, hopefully to the same recipe, it takes you back to even beers before that 7 years ago when I first drank this, when these beers were genuinely exciting and felt new, but went a complete step away from what you were used to drinking back then. And I think I'm happy to pay what I paid for this. It wasn't monstrously expensive, don't get me wrong. I'm not that much of an idiot. Although there's nothing idiotic. You spend your money how you want to. You pay what you want to for, especially when it comes to beer. I mean, I paid like nearly or maybe over 40 quid for a bottle of Basil Spontan beer from Mikkeller, which I really enjoyed. But you know, we all do every now and then pick some interesting beers, don't we? But yeah, it's taken me back to when, I'm not saying beer's not interesting now, because I've had some great IPAs. We're specifically talking about IPAs, obviously. And I never truly articulate what I really want to say with these videos. And let's be honest, when I start talking like this, I'm saying the same things in every time I'm doing it. But I don't know, I don't really like get overly excited the way I used to with beer, just because, and this is actually, when you think about it, stop playing with your hair, when you think about it, I'm actually in a really good position where I just know that I can get good beer in a relatively short amount of time. There's so many great breweries in the UK who, whether it be through various web shops, although I only ever seem to buy beer from Trembling Madness, but I know countless breweries that I can buy direct from and have beer sometimes the following day. And I know that out of the maybe 6, you've always got to buy beer in a multiple of 2, because it's really annoying when you get your box of beer and you forget and you've got like 13 cans or 19 cans. Buy on an even number. or of a multiple of 5. Because 17 beers, I frustrate myself when I do. That's probably my undiagnosed autism coming through. I realised recently that I struggle, right, to walk round corners like a functioning human being. If you ever have the displeasure of spending time with me in real life and we have to walk around a corner, watch how I walk around that corner, because it's weird. I can't describe it. I just struggle. Have we come a long way since this beer? Of course we have. Of course we have. Even though you could argue that we are maybe a little bit stagnant right now. But am I happy I bought another can of this? Yes. Quite frankly, I've not really had an IPA in the last sort of like few months that even tastes like this. And like I said, it's taken me back to a time where stumbling across these beers, they were exciting. Do you know what I mean? Coming from what IPA was primarily back 10, 15, 20 years ago. Well, not 10 to 15 years ago to where we are now. And this is why I love every now and then picking up these. Could you class it as like a legacy like a legacy craft beer, or is that the most wanky statement you could ever say? You know, it's the reason why I still love and adore Sierra Nevada, and Sierra Nevada Pale Ale will forever hold a place in my heart as not just a beer that I like, but I love. Celebration IPA, Tornado. And even though they're, you know, a really big outfit and they've got much better international distribution, there's still something like quintessentially Americana about it. And yeah, this obviously a bit more of a contemporary sort of brewery in the grand scheme of things. It's still exciting, and yeah, I'm really happy, really happy that I got another can of this. And I will say, unless you're getting it in keg, unless you're getting a proper pour, drink out the can. Trust me, I don't know the science behind it. Apparently it's supposed to be a much more aromatic and flavoured. There's something about the fact that it's all, I don't know the science. But, you know, you don't have to, you know, post a video with your overly expensive craft beer glass that you've got that's in a bit of a kooky shape with the beer. You could just post a can of that beer. Do you know what I mean? And it works beautifully well drinking it straight out of the can. I mean, even fucking neck oil tastes good out of a can. I only got that because it was cheap to get 3 cans at my nearest shop. But no. Like I said, this isn't really a review. It's fucking awful in the context of being a review. I don't know, it's just nice to sort of like talk about these sorts of things. And yeah, don't get me wrong, would I go rush out and pick up another can of this straight away? Probably not. For the price I paid for this, I could probably get 3-4 really good sort of UK based IPAs. I could, even now with distribution of American beers, I could probably get a couple of, you know, hypey American craft brewed stuff for the price of this. It was about 14 quid. I don't know why I was being all like, oh, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for this. And yet, sometimes you've just got to, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? And yeah, awesome stuff. I think I'm going to try and take the top of the can off and then use it as like on my desk in work to put my pens and stuff in. Oh, he's such a wanker. But if you do pour it in your glass, you're still getting a tremendous IPA. There's a reason why people laud not only the beer but the brewery. And yeah, it's got a unique character to it. And you could probably throw out 10, 20 beers that you've had that taste exactly like this. But I think it's that early, like, part of the cycle. Do you know what I mean? And I just wish I could recapture that moment 7 years ago when I drank this for the first time. Do you know what I mean? I think going proper into story time, I like doing these long form videos, but I think that the first like hazy New England Vermont style IPA that really gripped me would have been Stig Baggett's Amazing Haze. Now that was a really early example of a European brewery replicating the US haze craze, because that was like it was like dirty water, dirty, fruity, sexy hop water, where it looked like mud in a glass. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. To taste a beer like that when you're used to a more West Coast basic style of IPA. I was living in Germany at the time, and I was really starting to get to know the German craft beer scene. And to have that, it was just like, I think a lot of people in the UK, their moment probably came from the Cloudwater version series. I think Dean's beer reviews and Ken beer reviews, at some point we did beer trades. I sent them some German craft, but I never really got to experience the version series from Cloudwater. So that sort of really wasn't my like introduction to what has now become like almost like the fundamentals of an acceptable IPA, if that makes sense. But this is terrific. It really, really is. And I think people who are able to get 4 packs of this for a really good price, obviously in the area or wherever your licensing laws will allow you to get this beer in America, yeah, it's a classic, isn't it, really? And I'm just genuinely happy I got to try this again, and I would buy it again in the future. I'm just not going to rush out and buy another can or another couple of cans, because I almost think oversaturation, which a lot of people can say the beer market for easy IPAs is oversaturated, but I think when you have too much of a good thing, it's hard for that to keep being good and not just the norm and just what you're used to. So, you know, as someone who appreciates beer, it's okay every now and then. Albeit your spouse might be pissed off you've spent like 14 or over 10 quid for a beer. But you know what? Let them go on their stupid bottomless brunch events with their twatty mates. yeah, that's a bit of a generalisation and slightly misogynist, but plus I wasn't including, you know, lesbian couples and gay couples, and it is what it is. I've just fucking ruined this video by saying that. But yeah, Heady Topper, classic. I always get like an almost Hunter S. Thompson vibe. Who was the illustrator who did all of Hunter S. Thompson's books? I can't remember. He did Mad Dog Brewery as well, didn't he? Was it Mad Dog? God, do you remember them? Mate, some of the classic American craft breweries. Ballast Point, Six Point, Great Divide. I had very limited but fruitful experience with them. I think they're still brewing now, but yeah, Chocolate Yeti. Was it called Chocolate? Oh my God. Do you know what? There's just something, even now, even with the British brewing scene, is amazing. It's amazing. If you had a top 10 breweries, most of them would be British breweries. But there's just something so satisfying. The concept of a small town, you know, American brewery. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just something so satisfying about the aesthetic of a small town in America. Do you know what I mean? I'm not making any sense. I've got to stop this video because I need some food. So yeah, that was The Alchemist, Heady Topper. Not really a review, just I just needed a reason to gush, really. Not in that way. You can click on my spicy link if you want to see me to gush in that way. I don't have a spicy link, don't worry. I have a spicy account, and I probably spend a bit too much money every now and then on that account, but hey ho, it is what it is. And God bless the ladies who are making that their profession. It is what it is, folks. Oh my God, I'm a fucking twat. Check out my previous review if you want to. I realised as I was, because I needed to know when I uploaded the first this review. I've realised, right, I'm going to end on this. Throughout my whole adult life, even to this day, I have never not looked like a lesbian. And I'll leave you with that. Anyway, cheers for watching. You all take care. Stay safe. Thank you for watching this awful video. And yeah, go buy a can of this. Maybe you've had it once or twice before. Maybe you've never had it. But if you get the opportunity, give it a try. Anyway, cheers for watching. Take care. Stay safe. And Scissor Sisters for life. Bye.